everyone, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I'm here to share with you guys a process video on how I made these ATCs, which are my entries into ScrappyKsue's 50th birthday challenge. And if you don't know Karen Sue, please go check her out. There's still time to participate, and it's really simple. All you have to do is create an ATC for her. I decided to do a little pair of ATCs, and I'm going to share with you guys the whole process of how I made these really quick and easy, and I think really painterly and kind of pretty. This is a technique that I learned from Sandy Allnock in one of the classes that I took from her when she was traveling around the country, and I made these using the outline stamps from this Altenew Peony Bouquet stamp set and these Ken Oliver color bursts. I hope you guys enjoy the process video. As you see here, I've got my watercolor paper ATC card base all cut out, 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and I'm positioning the large bloom from the stamp set on my Misty because I need to do some repeat stamping. I'm using Versamark ink, but because the paper is so textured, I need to do that second impression. For the second watercolor ATC base, I've positioned it horizontally. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want that large flower. That's my first impression. I'm pressing down pretty hard to try and transfer that Versamark ink cleanly. And this is my second impression. Now I'm going to move that ATC card base over because I want to have the small blossom in the opposite corner of that ATC card base. So I've moved the card base over and I'm stamping out the small blossom, and that's my second impression of that. Now I keep all of my embossing powders in their original containers. So to capture the overflow, I use a coffee filter. And here I'm just sprinkling on a little bit of clear embossing powder. That's a Recollections brand. And you see me doing both sides of that card. That was the second ATC card. Now I'm putting the embossing powder on the second card as well, just making sure to tap off the excess. Now on the video, you're not going to be able to see the embossing powder melting, but rest assured, that's what it's doing, and I am heating both of the ATC card bases. I just want to show you that really you have to just be careful about moving the heat tool around so that you don't scorch the paper. I like to heat both the front and the back so that the paper doesn't curl too much. Now in terms of the supplies, I'm just using actually a calligraphy paintbrush. You can use any kind of paintbrush for this, as long as you can get a fine point at the end. And all I'm doing is getting into the kind of nooks and crannies of the flower, the center portions, the base of each petal. I'm sorry you can't see this too well, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just wetting it down, those little areas down with water, plain water. And now I'm sprinkling, tapping in the Ken Oliver powder. And here you see me at the base of each of the petals and with the center of the flower, just lightly touching some water to it, and that really activates all of those powder crystals from the Ken Oliver color bursts. And I'm making sure to leave white areas on each petal, the outside edges, because I want a gradation of color in this flower. Now I know for some people these Ken Oliver color burst powders can be a little scary, but I want to assure you guys that there's so much beautiful pigment in powder form in each of these bottles that it's really easy to get a beautiful painterly look. Here I'm just making sure that the base of each petal has a little bit of that pigment activated. Now I'm taking my heat tool to this portion because I want this to fully dry, or at least mostly dry. I'm heating the back and the front again so that the paper doesn't warp too much. And that allows me to layer in the next layer of water. I'm just adding water outside of the flower image. And actually the heat embossing makes this part really easy too. Now I'm sprinkling on some green. This is Terra Verte. And in fact, all of these colors that I'm using are part of one kit from Ken Oliver. I think it's called the Earth Tones. And it's a great mix of colors. I think next, when I find a good sale, I'm going to be looking for the brights. As you saw there, I brushed off some of the excess powder off of the flower before I spritzed the card base with just plain water in a spray bottle. And I love how you can really move the pigment powders around this way with just a wet brush and spraying, kind of targeted spraying with a plain spray bottle filled with water. I'm heating these areas as well because I want to keep that intensity of color in some areas. And I am intentionally leaving some white areas because I think that gives you a place for your eye to rest, and rather than having a fully saturated in color ATC. So this is that ATC fully dried and mounted onto heavyweight chipboard. All I've done is added a couple of pretty pink posh clear droplets. This is the 6mm and that's the 4mm, because I thought those droplets added a little extra finishing touch and added to the kind of watery look of the ATC. Now this card is basically done exactly the same way. The only difference that you see probably is a slight color variation, and that's just because for these two blossoms, rather than using the Merlot that I used for this one, I used a yellow ochre a little bit mixed in with a burnt orange, and that gave me more of a burgundy color flower. And here I added 3 of those little droplets, 2 little ones and 1 large one. The other thing that I wanted to let you guys know about is usually I will just attach my ATC label, but Karen Sue asked that we make a little pocket and put our information that she's requested on a little card that we can slide inside. And adding these pockets actually indicate which way is up for my ATC, so it worked out well. And I've actually titled each of these ATCs. This one with a single bloom is called Shine Alone. And this one with the 2 blossoms touching is called Lovely Together. If you enjoyed this process video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, everybody, and happy birthday, Karen Sue.